Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel, General Hospital Diaries. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please subscribe and keep watching for more detailed videos. General Hospital teases that Drew Kane could be heading straight into one of the biggest turning points of his life, and the shockwaves may stretch far beyond what anyone in Port Charles sees coming. For months now, Drew has been trying to keep himself on the right track, doing everything he can to walk away from the darker impulses that took root during his time behind bars. He's convinced himself that discipline, control, and focus are all he needs to keep moving forward. But the truth is, Drew has been balancing on a very thin line, and the upcoming storm may be the one thing that forces him to finally face what he's been avoiding. At the center of it all is the brewing conflict with Winston Sidwell, a man whose quiet influence and buried motives may be far more dangerous than anyone initially believed. Drew has been trying to redeem himself, not just in the eyes of Port Charles but in his own mind. He's struggled with guilt, pressure, and expectations, carrying the weight of choices he made while trying to protect the people he loves. But every time he takes a step forward, something from his past pulls him back. And that's exactly where Sidwell comes in. While Sidwell pretends to be a polished, smooth-talking businessman with nothing but ambition on his mind, Drew has sensed cracks beneath the surface. Something hasn't added up about Sidwell's sudden rise, the way he inserts himself into ELQ matters, and how he subtly manipulates situations without ever getting his own hands dirty. Drew's instincts have been quietly screaming that Sidwell isn't just another corporate threat. He's a danger with deeper connections and motives that are slowly beginning to bleed into Drew's personal life. As tension grows, Drew's attempts to hold everything together start to slip. The pressure of balancing ELQ responsibilities, the emotional weight of past trauma, and the lingering need to protect those around him pushed him further than he intended to go. He's been trying to maintain a calm front, but underneath it, Drew is inching toward decisions that could easily undo all the progress he's made. The more Sidwell gains ground, the more Drew feels compelled to push back, even when those pushes risk taking him into darker territory. And that's exactly why this storyline carries so much potential, because Drew isn't fighting just another business rival. He's fighting a threat that may force him to confront the parts of himself he's tried hardest to suppress. Sidwell's growing influence starts subtly. Phone calls that don't match his public claims. Partnerships that feel like traps. Meetings that leave more questions than answers. And slowly, Drew realizes Sidwell has been positioning himself for something far more coordinated. There's a pattern, one that becomes harder to ignore as the pieces line up. Sidwell has been collecting leverage, financial, personal, and emotional against key players, and Drew may have unknowingly become one of his prime targets. What makes this even more intense is how Sidwell uses charm and strategic patience, getting others to underestimate him before striking. Drew sees it, even if others don't, and that isolation is exactly what makes this storyline so gripping. When the people around you believe you're overreacting, it's far easier for the real threat to move unnoticed. As Drew investigates further, he stumbles onto information that changes everything. A trail of hidden connections starts to form, names, dates, and financial trails that lead back to Sidwell's dealings long before he ever appeared in Port Charles. Drew realizes that Sidwell's arrival wasn't a coincidence. It was planned, deliberate, and tied to something much bigger than the public knows. And for Drew, the discovery becomes the spark that ignites both fear and determination. If Sidwell has been pulling strings behind the scenes, then taking him down may be the only way to protect not only ELQ but the people Drew cares most about. Yet chasing the truth puts Drew on a collision course with danger, and with the very impulses he's been trying to keep buried. The deeper Drew digs, the more he becomes aware of how far Sidwell is willing to go to secure power. Sidwell begins planting doubts about Drew's stability, carefully dropping comments, redirecting blame, and stirring tension whenever possible. Drew becomes frustrated and strained, feeling like he's being pulled back into a corner he fought so hard to escape. And when someone is pushed to that limit, redemption becomes a fragile thing. One impulsive decision can shatter everything. That's where the stakes rise. Drew's struggle isn't just about exposing Sidwell, it's about proving to himself that he won't fall back into destructive cycles. This internal conflict sets the stage for the emotional and dramatic payoff General Hospital loves to deliver. But what makes the upcoming twist so compelling is that Drew's pathway to redemption may actually depend on Sidwell's downfall. Taking Sidwell down isn't just about revealing corruption. It could be the key to freeing Drew from the guilt he's been clinging to. When Drew finally uncovers the last piece of the puzzle, something that ties Sidwell to actions that have been harming multiple people, Drew realizes this isn't just a business feud. It's a threat that could spill into lives, relationships, and futures throughout Port Charles. And if Drew is the only one who sees it clearly, then stepping up becomes a responsibility he can't ignore. As the confrontation builds, Drew starts operating with a renewed sense of purpose. He begins gathering his own evidence, connecting with allies, and staying several steps ahead of Sidwell, even as Sidwell grows more aggressive. Every move becomes a chess match, every conversation a test of strategy. Drew's intensity returns, but this time it's focused, sharper, stronger, and more controlled. It's the version of Drew that viewers have been waiting to see, the version who knows exactly what's at stake and refuses to be blindsided again. The pivotal moment comes when Drew finally corners Sidwell with undeniable proof. The takedown doesn't rely on anger or force. It relies on clarity, strength, and the growth Drew has fought so hard for. And that's where the redemption shocker hits. By bringing Sidwell down the right way, Drew proves to himself that he's not defined by his past, his instincts, or his mistakes. He makes the choice to rise above, to hold on to the best parts of himself instead of letting the worst win. And that moment of victory becomes more than a plot twist. It becomes a turning point that shifts Drew's entire trajectory. The fallout from Sidwell's exposure sends ripples through Port Charles. People realize Drew had been right all along, and the respect he earns becomes part of his healing. Doors that once felt closed begin to open again. Relationships that had been strained start to mend. And Drew finally feels a sense of control, not by force, but by integrity. The victory isn't just professional. It's deeply personal, marking a powerful chapter in Drew's long and complicated journey. And as the dust settles, the show sets the stage for whatever comes next. Drew may walk away changed, empowered, and finally standing in the light of his own redemption. His battle with Sidwell becomes the story that defines this new phase of his life, one where he no longer runs from the shadows, but faces them head-on. And with Sidwell out of the way, Drew has the freedom to look ahead, rebuild, and step into a future shaped by strength rather than struggle. Come back to our channel for all your updates. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to my channel.